Welcome all, young and old, to this our 10th episode of The Theory of Anything, where we'll talk about almost anything we can think of, by which I, of course, mean films, mostly. To my co-hosts, Paps and Devon, how do you feel about hitting them sweet double digits?
Very good. Yeah, it's quite a momentous occasion. 10 episodes.
A milestone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a milestone. Yeah, and they said it wouldn't last.
Yeah.
Did they? Who said that? Yeah.
Ford.
They're all saying it.
Everyone's saying it now.
Well, they wish it hadn't lasted. Anyway. No, we're still here, folks. Yeah.
Because this is our 10th episode, and also because every 5th episode we have a guest, we've decided to format this one a little differently. So hopefully you enjoy, and we'll be back to our old routine next week, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So how do you guys feel about the cancellation of all these films due to the coronavirus?
Oh, yes. It's a very sad consequence. I suppose it's one of the minor inconveniences for many people, but it is a frustration that we are limited to so much of what we can and can't do nowadays at the moment. I'm sure everybody, not just our listeners, but everyone around the world is having to go through the same changes to our everyday lives. Yeah.
Did you guys watch any of the YouTube videos that have been coming up with people wrestling over toilet paper in the supermarket?
Ridiculous, isn't
it? Shocking. Yeah. Disappointing sometimes, human beings, aren't we? Yeah.
But it'll all be okay. You see a lot of people doing a lot of good things as well.
You do.
My TK Maxx, that's closest to me. They basically gave over loads and loads of food over to charity, like food banks and things. So
that's cool. Very amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of taking people to extremes, making the nice very nice and the nice very not nice.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
It does. You're right. It does expose the extremes, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's causing people to come together, and it's causing people to be very selfish as well. Yeah. But hopefully that's just the minority.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should probably also mention and apologise for the lack of episodes coming out recently due to Ford.
Ford's fault.
Ford's face.
Don't do me dirty.
Did you just say because of Ford's face?
Yeah. Malfunctioning face.
I got a face for radio.
So harsh. Yeah, got your podcasting face on.
Yeah, that's it. Wow. I got my nose job done finally. All sorted.
Yeah. Help you to sleep better at night. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Let's hope that's successfully resolved once things settle down for you. But at least you got your voice back to normal.
Yes. It has been a while. I'm feeling a lot better.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking, Devon.
Nice.
Very good.
You're welcome.
Very good.
A pick up on last week. I've got an email here.
Do you mean last episode?
No.
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It says, I've just listened to episode 9. I believe the murder mystery character you were trying to think of was Jessica in Murder, She Wrote.
She Wrote.
Yes,
of course it was. Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoying listening each week. Keep up the good work.
Oh,
that's nice, isn't it?
That's really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there we
Thank you, listener. Let's hope we get some more like that. That would be very appreciated.
Yeah. Not the usual. It's trash.
Yeah.
I don't think we.
So many emails I have to delete. It's crazy.
To be fair, we haven't had that.
No, we haven't.
Not like some. I think the bigger you get, the worse it can be, isn't it? But
probably, yeah.
Small fish in a big pond at the moment. Hopefully it won't stay like that, but we have to accept there might be some negatives one day. Yeah. Yes. They don't have to listen, do they?
I think as long as we're enjoying it, it's okay.
Exactly. Well done. Well said.
That's what I tell myself at night.
Anyway, guys, we need to move on.
Right, yeah. On to the segment.
And now it's time for Watchin.
All right, so this week we've decided to do a Watchin segment just explaining and talking about what we've been watching recently. Either of you guys got anything?
Yeah, I have. Who's going to go first? So
You go first.
Me? Okay then.
Yeah.
So, am I allowed to include things other than things you watch on telly?
Yeah, I mean, it could be like
YouTube
anything that you watch. I mean,
Is it? What I mean is, am I allowed to say that I've been playing a game?
nah, that's not
Oh,
Have you been
okay.
watching yourself play a game?
I spent 6 hours playing a game yesterday, which is rare for me to be able to do that.
That's it. That Sims game you got on your
No, it was a first-person shooter. Yeah, cool.
Really?
You will know it, I'm sure. BioShock.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think you'd be into that.
Yeah, I played 6, or maybe a bit longer actually. It might have been
Which one?
7.
The first one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a freebie on the PlayStation Plus thing, downloadable last month. I downloaded it last month. I haven't played it, so I thought I'll give it a go.
Wow.
Interesting game.
Yeah.
Are you a bad guy or a good guy?
Do you have a choice?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a general inquiry onto the game. Are you a good guy or a bad guy?
Well, it's set like in 1918, but in this floating city. Have I got this same game that you guys?
It's like a sunken city.
So these are floating in the clouds.
You're on BioShock Infinite.
Infinite, yeah.
Yeah, that's the third one.
Is it? Oh, really?
Yeah, the first one's called BioShock. Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, it's Infinite. That's correct. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't played that one yet.
You haven't played? Ah, right. Okay. Well, let's not talk about it then.
New segment name: Watching /playing.
So, what am I watching? I guess one thing I'm watching, other than that, is because I'm participating in that, is watching a TV series called Liar at the moment. That's season 2 of Liar, which has been really good. It's on actually this evening, Monday evening, it's being broadcast each Monday. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's good at the moment. And one other thing I'll mention I'm watching is something. It's a TV drama that is downloadable, I think, on. Am I watching it on Prime? No, I'm downloading it through Sky Catch Up. It's called The Tunnel. It's like a cop drama thing, which is really good as well. The premise at the beginning, this isn't a spoiler, is a body is found in one of the service tunnels that go through the channel, alongside the Channel Tunnel railway line. And this body is found exactly in the middle, and there's a line across the floor that denotes when you go from British to French land, and the body is half on the French side and half on the British side. Yeah. Wow. And so you've got the French and the British both trying to solve the case, but that's just the beginning. Yeah.
Hang on. Where was the traumatic injury? Was it on the hip or the feet?
If I tell you, it would spoil it a bit. Yeah. I suppose if it's in the first 10 minutes, is it a spoiler? No, I think I can tell you what it is. When the police both arrive, the Brits and the French police are both sort of on their own side, looking at the body between them, and they have the forensic people, and they go to lift the body onto the stretcher. Yeah. And when they lift it, the body falls completely cut in half.
Across the borderline.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the traumatic trauma. Right in the middle. Yeah.
I didn't clear that up at all, did I?
Yeah, that's the only reason I mentioned that. Yeah, it's not a nice scene, but apart from that, it's pretty okay to watch. It's nothing too offensive, but I think it's going to be a good series. I'll comment quickly before you move on to you, somebody else. I think it's based on a Scandinavian drama. I think it might have been a Swedish drama actually, called The Bridge. So we've got a version called The Tunnel, which I think the storyline is identical to another drama that I have actually got on DVD but never watched because it's subtitled. But Parasite film has taught me that I need to start watching more subtitled and films and TV. So I might go back to the bridge and watch that and see how close it is to the tunnel. Anyway, that's enough for me. What you watching?
Me?
Ford or Devon? Yeah, Devon.
Okay. Something a little less sophisticated, maybe.
Yeah.
We've been watching The Circle.
Oh,
The Circle.
right.
It's on all 4, I think.
Okay. On catch up.
It's basically a reality TV show.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's heard of it before.
No.
But basically, loads of people get chosen to go into the little flats in this building, basically called Inside the Circle, and they have to become popular amongst all the other people. And whoever wins and lasts longest gets £100,000.
Oh, is this on social media? Sorry.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, I think
I've heard of that.
So what they do is they have to talk to each other and everything, and they play games with each other to try and become popular amongst themselves. Then they rate each other, and they get booted if they're not good. But basically, you because they're all in their individual flats, you never see them face to face. You can lie about who you are and use someone else's pictures, someone else's age, gender, whatever. So it's very, very interesting.
Is it? Is it good?
Yeah, it's quite good.
Do you normally go for that sort of thing, like Big Brother or So this is unusual for you to like something.
It's a little bit trashy.
Yeah,
It sounds like it's actually quite interesting anyway, because you have these people. My favorite in this season is Tim, not the actual person. Not my friend Tim. Someone else.
Another Tim.
He's basically this old eccentric guy who's like very classical, and he doesn't know like hashtags or acronyms or any of the social media stuff that we use now. So he comes off across very, I don't know, either unreal or sweet and old guy. Okay. So obviously a lot of people think it might be a catfish.
Okay.
But you also have some people who are pretending to be a single mother when they're actually a dude. And it's like, surely it can't be a catfish because then you're using this person's baby to try and become...
What's catfish?
Yeah, a catfish is someone who's pretending to be somebody else online.
Okay. Oh, right. That's the phrase for it, is it?
Yeah.
You live and learn. I never heard that before. Yeah.
So you get a lot of people going like, surely this person's not a catfish because they'll be using this person's baby to try and become popular, or they've said this really, really nice, sweet thing to me. And if they're not who they say they are, then that's going to actually like break my heart. Basically. Yeah. But then they are a catfish. It's like,
oh my dear.
It's very interesting.
It's like a bluff, call my bluff type thing, like a bit like a poker game, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they being for real or not? Yeah.
You have some people who think, I really don't like this person, but they're really popular somehow. Because they know all the hashtags and all the ways to keep a conversation flowing via text and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So watch it if you like it. I mean, if you can get into it, then it's good. But it is a little bit like reality TV show type thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, that's interesting. Bit different for you. Yeah. What about you then, Ford?
Hello. I watched. Well, to be honest, I've been off work for like 2 weeks, so I watched a fair few things.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I watched Lord of the Rings, the second one, the Two Towers. It's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I watched the extended cut because I got that for Christmas years ago, and
It's like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't watched the extended edition, that doesn't really make you a garbage person, but. just a weak one. That's what I say.
Call yourself a fan.
Yeah, I know. Obviously that's a classic, so I can't really big that up too much. I watched Gone Girl.
Oh yeah.
You guys seen it?
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, everyone in it is a douchebag. So that made me feel dirty inside.
Yeah.
But I was told it was great. So yeah. Sucks to be there.
Is it the one? Oh, give us an intro to it.
So this guy, he ends up coming home to his quite nice house, and he's found his wife missing, and his house trashed up, and there's blood on the floor and stuff. So he calls the police, and essentially this big investigation goes on as to where his wife is.
Yeah.
And it's not looking good for the husband, basically.
Yeah.
And there's a few twists and turns in the way, which
I
makes it
remember.
quite interesting,
Yeah.
but
I think I do
not
remember.
pleasant.
I've seen it, yeah. Good. So
Yeah.
you prefer Lord of the Rings?
Yes. One more I did watch. I'd never seen this one before. A Knight's Tale. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Knight is in Knights of the Round Table sort of thing.
KN, yeah.
Yeah. Which is a comedy, and it's really funny and good. I could highly recommend it to anyone.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, no, neither would I until.
Yeah.
Where's it available?
DVD.
Is it?
That's where I watched it.
Yeah, you're going through your old DVD collection, are you? Or
yes, and also my wife's, because she brought a lot that I haven't seen.
Tale. Yeah, I've heard of it. I think I must have seen A Knight's Tale, but a long time ago. It's an 80s film, I think, isn't it?
Yes. It's got a lot of. It's very weird.
Yes.
But
is there two then? Because this one says 2001.
Oh.
It's got not Jared. It's got the actor who played Joker in the good one. I was going to say Jared Leto. That's the bad one.
Gosh.
Heath Ledger. That's the one. Yeah, he's the main character, and he's pretty good in it. I like it. Yeah.
Well, okay, very good.
Yeah, films.
A quick sum of what we've been watching in the Watchin.
I have a feeling people are going to be watching a lot more these days.
Yeah.
As if they probably weren't watching a lot as it was.
Yeah.
Well, they slowed down the bandwidth or the bit rate on services like Netflix and Prime Video.
Have they really?
Yeah, to try and equalise everything so people don't buffer so much since of bandwidth go around.
Oh, well.
After this evening's announcement from the Prime Minister, there are going to be even more people at home.
Which I'm quite annoyed about, because we pay extra for 4K Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's like £2 a month. That's going to be wasted.
Wasted.
Yeah.
Chuck it away.
Is that the only thing you've got to worry about?
Yeah.
I suppose we have to make light heart of some things. Humour plays a part. Yeah,
I just.
Very good. Okay, mate.
And now it's time for Random Chatting.
So we're going to come to our random chat, which that was last week's homework, being The Troll Bridge by Terry Pratchett, which is a short story. So we've all read it. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to go first because I went first with the last segment, so somebody else go first.
In saying short story, we're saying it's about 6 pages long.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I mean, you like it, did you? I mean, I don't know if I can get behind the whole short story business. It seems like it comes out of nowhere and disappears back into. But I mean, I guess it's interesting.
I would tend to agree with you, to be honest.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I had that same problem. I was getting into it, and then it ended, and it was a bit like, oh, so this didn't really go anywhere,
I wish it was longer. Yeah, but we wouldn't have read it if it had been longer.
No, that's true. That's very true. Perhaps I know you had a few things to say about it, actually.
Shall I?
Yeah, why don't you talk?
All right, then. Let me just have a quick look at my notes, what I was going to say. Okay, I thought it was it was a great use of humour. I've not read any Terry Pratchett before.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise he had such a great sense of humour. There's a couple of lines I meant to go back and highlight a few. But quite quickly you realise this is a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the first, I can't find what I was going to mention. But also I love this, it very naturally brought a contemporary style of dialogue into this fantasy setting. The way in which the troll was the conversations about everyday life and problems and everything else.
Yeah.
And yet we're dealing with these fantasy creatures that don't exist, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really funny and quite cleverly written because of that. And wasn't he talking to the horse? The horse was it begins with the talking horse, doesn't it? Yeah. Because he brought it off which is biblical, isn't it? A talking horse.
Donkey.
A donkey. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if the wizard bit is quite right, but
yeah. And I love.
Go on. I like how it was like, oh, who did you think was bidding against you? The horse is bidding for himself. Trying to make his price go up.
Yeah. And what was it at the end? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, obviously, but the ending.
Well, we should.
Yeah. Really?
Well, it was last week's homework. If people haven't read it by now,
okay.
No spoiler.
Get out.
Let's talk about the end then. Anybody remember how it ended? Oh, yeah. And for the three addresses, he talks all the way through it. You're learning about the troll's relatives, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the very end,
because the whole thing is Conan the Barbarian is trying to find a troll to fight.
Yes.
He finds a troll under a bridge and finds that he actually empathizes with them. Quite a lot. So by the end, he walks away not having fought the big troll he was going to fight.
Yeah.
And he's got the addresses of his
three trolls that aren't very nice. Yeah. So he sold out his own family, didn't he? Yeah.
But they're not nice. They're just moving with the times, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a bit harsher, I thought.
Yeah, he's a bit of a traditionalist, wasn't he? Wanting to continue to do what everybody should be doing as a troll. But yeah, I guess you could say that they were real sort of free enterprising, go-getting contemporary trolls, weren't they? A lumberyard and one guy pays somebody else to do all the...
Oh yeah, he does work a bridge, but he pays a dwarf to just as a toll master rather than actually being a troll.
Yeah. Ingenious. So then, actually, the twist, a double twist, is out of the other trolls and the main character troll, who's the worst? The one who sold out his family members surely deserves to die more than the ones with the three addresses.
Maybe you're right. It's not a nice thing to do, is it?
It isn't a nice thing to do, no.
No, not at all.
Even when you've got a wife and baby trolls under your bridge to think about,
Wait, Conan the Barbarian just ends up giving him all his money, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the same Conan? This is a Cohen, isn't it? Cohen. Yeah, Conan is another character, isn't it?
It's a historical figure.
Arnold Schwarzenegger film character. Yeah. In the film Conan the Barbarian. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a play on that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe there's not a lot more we can say about it. I think there's anybody else that's got anything to say.
The writing style I like.
Yeah.
It's just, I like depth and I like to find out more about the world and everything. So obviously you can't do that in a short story.
No, yeah.
But otherwise, it's nice. It's good.
How many troll bridges out of 10 do you give it?
We haven't finished talking about it yet.
Have you not? I thought you were wrapping it up.
No, I wasn't wrapping up I was wrapping up the conversation about Trollbridge, but I wanted to hear a bit more about Terry Pratchett. Is this style or this subject indicative of his normal writing?
This style, most definitely, yes. Almost every sentence is supposed to be a punchline.
Okay.
Well, maybe not quite that bad, but but that's the topic. No, he shifts topics all over the place, to be quite frank, which is great.
And universe is, is sort of, does he do any sci-fi or is it all fantasy or contemporary stuff?
He has done other stuff as far as I'm aware, but I only know the Discworld stuff, which is what we've just read from. The fantasy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know that, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps other listeners who know a bit more of Terry Pratchett's work could comment and let us know what they think.
Yes, please do comment in the comment section.
Not just this story, but others that he's written, and why you like Terry Pratchett. I know you've enjoyed some of his work and some of his work not so much. Yeah.
Yes, to be sure.
I think I'm right in saying that. Yeah.
Nice.
Huh.
Okay.
So how many troll bridges out of 10 do you give it?
I'd give it maybe like 6.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good for you. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's the lowest I've ever rated something, but yeah.
Is it? But yeah, it's above half. So
yeah.
I really shook it. I enjoyed it. I don't think I'd have any reason to not give it 7, maybe 7.5.
How funny!
Yeah.
I was going to give it 7, but
Yeah.
then I didn't really enjoy it as much as you did. So
Yeah,
that's strange.
I'll give it 8 then.
All right,
6,
that's
6, 7, and 8. Yeah, yeah. Because once I started reading it, I didn't want it to end. So that
okay.
surely is a good sign. Which does sound a bit like you both felt the same way, but maybe I was more favourable. Thought a bit more favourably.
Possibly.
I guess so. Yeah.
Thank you for suggesting it. The only thing, that link you sent us, it was awfully difficult to read it.
Oh, I just printed it off.
Did you? The red
Yeah,
writing with the
I'd copied it
stars.
into a Word document.
Ah, good thinking.
Huh.
Yeah, I just did it on the webpage. Anyway, thank you, Ford, for suggesting it and opening
anytime.
my... If anybody says, have you read any Terry Pratchett now, I can say yes.
Yes, a very short story. Yeah, no, it's good.
If that counts.
Brilliant.
Well done.
Welcome, special guest.
Right, so now we're going to move on to a new special segment called Our Special Guest. As we said earlier, it's episode 10, so we have somebody with us. You might wonder why this person wasn't contributing to the rest of the conversation, but she's going to introduce herself in a moment. So welcome, Christine, my dearly beloved wife.
Hey.
Welcome. Nice to have you with us. Sat round a shared microphone this time, the two of us. And so Christine's going to talk to us about a subject that's passionate and close to her heart. And but first of all, just before she does that, I want to ask her to introduce herself, what she does, and your background, a little bit of background about your kind of work. And
okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, well, I'm a registered care manager, and we look after the elderly in their own homes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a small team of carers, and that's been running now for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And quite successful.
Oh, yes.
Got a passionate, really, for the elderly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
So, yeah, that's me.
Good. That's great. So the subject that you want to talk to us about today, I remember going back now, probably to episode 3, I think it was, and we were talking about the concept of having special guests every now and again, and you immediately said to me, "Oh, I could be a guest, and I'd love to talk about
loneliness."
Loneliness.
Loneliness. Yeah.
So I'm going to I'm just going to be quiet now and let you talk. Oh, what do you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, no, what?
The longest I'll have been quiet for on any podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to let Christine share what she'd like to share with ourselves and the listeners, and then we'll have a time where we can come and feedback or ask questions of anything what we've heard. So over to you.
Okay. Well, yeah, loneliness is a passion of mine, because the elderly are a passion of mine. But I have actually learned that no age group really is immune to loneliness. But it was the elderly that it first came to my attention, really, looking after the elderly. And they just want to see you more and more and more, because they're isolated in their own homes. Maybe family members live a long way away, or even in a different country. So, so as carers going in, obviously there's only so many times you can go in to help them and support them. So it was a growing concern, really, that it was very evident that the elderly were very lonely. But like I said, no age group is immune to that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. But firstly, I just wanted to start talking about what is the definition of loneliness. So looking at the dictionary, there's several definitions, and I'll just read those out to you. Loneliness means being without company, cutting off from others, sadness from being alone. So loneliness has feelings of bleakness and desolation. So really, every we're all the same, whether we're male or female. We all have a human heart, and all of us has a longing to be loved. So loneliness really is it related to an experience, and that experience can be a number of things. Maybe the death of a partner, a loved one, or a family member. Maybe loneliness from separation of a marriage or a relationship, or even a divorce, a broken engagement. And another related area is if someone lives in a different country and moves homeland. So moving country. So all these things that I've mentioned really have deep emotional, traumatic experience around them. So, and that's what could possibly cause the sense of loneliness and isolation. So I just wanted to really say, from a spiritual perspective, in the beginning, God actually said it is not good for man to be alone.
That's right.
So in Genesis 2, verse 18, the Lord says that he made woman from the rib of man and brought her to him. So basically, right from the very, very beginning, we are all designed and made to be social beings.
That's right.
You know, we're not designed to be alone.
No.
And that's why we all have that longing and that sort of urge to be loved and belong to someone or a closeness with another person.
Very good.
So how does loneliness affect our health? Well, the specialist actually confirmed that both mentally and emotionally, loneliness induces a very painful and even harmful physical effect on a person. And it's now very common, unfortunately and sadly, but it is viewed as a serious health hazard to be lonely, which is really, really sad. So going back earlier on, I said that no age group is immune. And it's only really through looking into this a little bit further that young people can experience loneliness, especially in the very, very early years of their life, between the age of 1 and 3.
Wow.
Which I was quite astounded to read when I was, looking into it a little bit further. So I'll give you an example. If you've got a shy child, they might suffer real physical symptoms, agony if they were separated from their mother on their first day at school, say. And those physical symptoms could be vomiting, diarrhea, this horrible traumatic, emotional traumatic experience. Wrench for the child. And other children, they can feel loneliness because maybe parents don't spend much time with them, possibly because they can't, because maybe both parents are working. And this can sadly create such a huge emotional vacuum in the child's heart, and that can stay with them, feelings right from a very young age of isolation. So and teenagers as well. I was reading about teenagers, how they can feel that they're not in with the right crowd, and they get pushed out. Maybe they don't have the right hairstyle or the right clothes, and they get pushed outside, so they feel rejected, and that rejection in their teen years can cause isolation and sense of loneliness, and sadly even to the point of suicide. It really can be quite traumatic. So bearing all that in mind, I then sort of thought about, well, what's the cure? What's the cure? What's the road to relief? What's the road to relieve loneliness? And one of the key things is friendship. So friendship can actually completely transform a lonely person. So it's just making a way for people to unburden themselves once you befriend them, to actually listen to them and give somebody time. And I know time is very rare to everybody these days because everybody leads very, very busy lives.
Yeah.
But by making a friendship and allowing that lonely person to talk to you, and like I said, unburden all their cares and their woes and their worries, it's almost like a counselling type of friendship, really. But as they share, they unburden and they download. And even just being able to do that and help somebody in that area makes them feel so much better, and that vacuum of loneliness can gradually be filled. The friendship can take time to develop. These things won't blossom overnight. Friendships take time to be worked at, and they need to be grown and maintained over a period of time. So it's not a quick fix, really.
Takes effort, yeah.
Definitely. But the lonely person, really, to be honest, faces two possible choices. They must either rise above the loneliness, or they'll succumb to the loneliness and they'll continue to suffer. And that's awful. So the road to relief and the cure is be a friend. Be a friend. Take that time, whether it's a young child, whether it's a teenager, or whether, like me, it's an elderly person. Take that time to just sit down and let them do the talking, and just, nod and agree and show compassion and understanding. And so they actually feel that they're being listened to.
Yeah. That's good.
So to summarize this, the root of loneliness is the absence of a loving or a satisfying companionship, or the absence of a friendship. So it is here, really, where a change needs to be made from that person that has no companion, no friend, no partner, no loving relationship. That's where things need to change to obviously change the direction from this horrible, empty, painful void in their life.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow.
Interesting stuff. Thank you very much. Before I hand over to the guys to comment and maybe ask some questions, I just wondered, it sprung to my mind, we didn't say at the beginning, what part of what you do professionally is provide a home for several people to live together, and your vision for that was very much based on bringing, you say what your vision was for that, and how come that home, which happens to be just across the road from where we live, conveniently, that's not a care home, but tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll ask the Ford and Devon to ask any other questions then.
Yeah, so it's about 5 years ago, and we look after, like I said, the elderly in the community.
Their own homes,
And 3 clients that we were looking after were very, very lonely. And I just thought, how can I do something? How can I make their lives more meaningful? And they had physical disabilities. They had one had a mental disability, but the pain of the loneliness was far, far greater than anything else. It was physical. It was emotional. They cried, and so did I, because I just didn't know, really, apart from befriending them, how I could make their lives better. So it does actually say, again, I'm going to quote scripture to you. In Psalm 68 verse 6, it says, the Lord brings the lonely together in family. So that's exactly what happened.
They all moved in with us. No, they didn't quite do that.
These 3 specific elderly people that were very, very lonely moved into a house across the road from us, and physically made a family out of the 3.
Yeah.
And for 3 of the years, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Their life transformed. It was the last 2 of them, they're passed away now, but the last 3 years of their life was probably one of the happiest 3 years of their lives. Because they had companionship all together.
They became a family, didn't they?
They became a family.
And now, since then, we've had others, residents come and stay, and some stay still there now. And so it's a great vision and a great concept, actually. Of we call it a student house for the elderly, isn't it? And they all have their own space, their own room, but they have shared communal areas as well in a nice house. So
they have care as well. But I mean, to see their lives change from being lonely to being more fulfilled was really, really satisfying.
Wonderful.
They used to sing together at breakfast times, and it was just incredible. The atmosphere was just fantastic.
I just thought that was worth commenting on, because that's a way in which you've really taken this whole problem and tried to do something about it.
Practical,
I'm sure that Ford and Devon will want to ask maybe some questions now. So who'd like to go first? And if you don't ask the questions that I want to ask, then I'll go last. So
Can I go first?
Yeah, go on.
Well, I've got a few questions, so I don't know if you want me to do mine first, but my first one is: do you often have people not wanting or not willing to have like this dependency or friendship of that kind of care?
Like I said, it's a choice, really. Everybody has a freedom of choice, and we do get people that, dare I say it, a little bit proud, and they don't want to accept the help.
No.
What happens with elderly people? They lose their independence, unfortunately, as they get old and physically can't do what they used to be able to do. So they lose some independence, and with that comes frustration.
Yeah.
So that's where we're there to support. We don't take away their independence. We're there to support. But yes, we do come across some people that actually will refuse the help.
Reluctantly,
So we have to respect their choice. We have a choice policy, and that's laid out by the government guidelines with the Care Quality Commission. And we have to apply the choice policy, and we have to respect their choice.
Yeah. It's also, I think, about losing your dignity as well, isn't it? We often hear that happening. But good question. Thank you, Devon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Second
one. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the second question is: do you have a particular passion for the elderly, or was that just something you fell into the elderly specifically? Because obviously you talked about loneliness with other age ranges as well.
No, I just have a specific passion for the elderly. Yeah. It's just I don't know what it is. I suppose you have people that like a Sunday school teachers, and they will have a passion for looking after young children. And then you've got youth workers that have a passion working with teenagers and youth. And I just have a passion working with the elderly. I just think that's just so sweet. They tell you their life stories. They tell you stories, from the war and things like that. And they're just so interesting. And they're very, very wise as well. Yeah. I just love hearing, and they're so grateful. They're so thankful for the little things that you do for them, to the great big things that you do for them. They're so appreciative of everything they do. It just feels so satisfying and rewarding. You just really, really feel, well, I do, and I know my staff do, really feel like we're making such a difference in their lives. Yeah. And that's my ethos, bringing what matters to people who matter, making a difference.
That's good. Wow.
So that's your call. in the whole area of loneliness, but as we're hearing what you've shared already tonight, there are perhaps other people out there who hopefully will hear this and say, well, perhaps there are other age groups that they feel drawn to look for and seek where help can be given. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Third question.
Third.
Yeah, I've got a few.
Yeah, go for it.
Would you add anything or take anything away from the definition of loneliness that you gave us?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
There were some powerful words in those definitions that you read out at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just looking here what you've got. Bleakness, desolation. Yeah. What else could you describe it?
I would probably use the word painful. And this is from a personal experience. I think in life, we all have to go through our own personal experience before we can validate an experience and share it, or have true empathy with something rather than sympathy. There is a massive difference between sympathy and empathy. Yeah. And after I divorced, I had probably 2 years of loneliness. Yeah. And it was a real loneliness, and it was painful. And so when I then later, further on from there, experienced my elderly clients feeling this loneliness, I could have true empathy with them because I felt the pain. So the dictionary definition doesn't say painful, but it is a real pain in your heart and emptiness. It is a vacuum. Desolation is heavy, but it's very painful. So I think that is probably one word that I would add.
I can imagine from an elderly person's perspective, they will have memory of family times and being part of maybe a larger community, and then suddenly, or not necessarily suddenly, but over time, they gradually lose that and they become isolated and alone. That's a real change for anybody to have to cope with, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and to have those thoughts of what it was like to be part of a big thriving family and then over time lose that, it can't be easy. Yeah. Very good. Good question, Devon.
Last question.
Okay.
Do you have any future plans for more homes?
Oh.
I would love to remodel what we've done 5 years ago. But unfortunately, it was a case of remortgaging, and you can't keep doing that to get a second home. So
there might be other ways of doing it. We need to investigate.
There may be.
When the time's right,
But it'd be something that you would want to do in the situation.
Oh, definitely, yes. Because it works. Yeah. It's a wonderful model. It works really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Very good questions. Thank you, Devon. What about you, Ford? Anything you wanted to add?
I thought of a few things to say. I actually heard a thing about loneliness, it being more damaging than smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow, that's an interesting statistic.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's something I didn't just make it up.
No.
I wondered if you'd say that you talked about the consequences of being lonely, all the side effects and whatnot. Would you say those side effects are more potent in older people or younger people? What do you think about that? Different ages?
I think personally, an emotion of loneliness is the same throughout all human beings. Yes. I think how that emotion manifests itself will be different according to the age. Yeah. Like a child, it can manifest itself maybe in behavioural problems.
Right. Yeah.
A teenager the loneliness may manifest itself in drug use, alcohol use, and an elderly
You mentioned
person,
suicide earlier as well, didn't you? That's a huge thing, isn't it? Which you probably wouldn't see an elderly person necessarily go into that extreme, but a younger person who's less mature doesn't have the innate abilities to handle those emotions so well.
That's right.
Could be driven to that extreme. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
So an elderly person, they may manifest in just withdrawing even further within themselves. They would. And it could have an effect on their ability to eat, they have loss of appetite. Or it could have the opposite effect. They could comfort eat and get larger and larger, and then causes other health problems.
Good point.
Wow.
So I really think that the actual loneliness emotion across all ages is the same, but it manifests itself differently with different age groups.
Would you say that having or getting a pet, what do you think of that? Because lonely people tend to, or some people try and solve the loneliness by getting a pet.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is
good.
that? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I didn't know if you'd say it's no replacement for a human or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's very positive. It's very positive. I think having a pet, it's somebody that that person, whatever age, can pet and talk to and name.
Like
and
a goldfish. No? Goldfish, no? A stroke. Sorry, carry on.
So no, I think it's a very positive cure.
Good thought. Yeah. Well.
My final question: you were talking about friendships and the needing to rise above it, to choose to do that.
Yeah.
How, if say I was lonely, what sort of advice would you give for me to actually do that? I mean, do I ask someone to be my friend because I need it, or I don't know? Where do you go with that if you're that person?
Where do you go? I mean, if somebody identifies that you're lonely or you haven't got many friends, then it's just to be encouraged, really. So for someone to encourage you to maybe use social media to maybe make a friend, or you could actually join like a group. I mean, the elderly people, they have friendship groups in churches and outside churches, like the WI and things like, which is Women's Institute. And so there's all sorts of things. I mean, I know locally to us in Wellingborough, there's a hall called Glamis Hall, and it's open to all males and females, and it's from age 65 and
like
over,
and
it's club. Like a day club. Yes.
And
it's just and obviously if it was somebody like a youth, to encourage somebody to join a youth group or something like that.
That's probably an area you might be putting in where if somebody self-identifies as being lonely and recognises that in themselves, then being part of a church body is going to give them an advantage to solving that. I think if you're in a church, then usually there are things that if we engage with them can overcome that. But for those who are not part of a church, then it must be very difficult. I'm sure. I'm sure there are non-church-based organisations that you can connect with, but it takes an effort, doesn't it? And also within a church environment, if you're attending in a correctly functioning church, I'll say that. Hopefully, mostly that we can say that about most churches. You're more likely to be noticed that you're lonely, by other people, and so other people might be more quick to pick up the phone or do something to say, well, perhaps they're not getting as many visitors as they used to do or something. But outside of the church, it must be very difficult, I'm sure. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Ford?
Yes.
So I suppose if you're outside the church, go and join a church. That's one thing you could do. But that's not the main reason to join a church, but it's certainly a positive consequence of being part of what we call a body of believers, of people who a family, like a church family. Yeah. We become like adopted family, don't we, when you're part of a church group. Any others? Any other questions?
No, that's all I got.
Comments?
Thank you. I mean, you're not done yet. You wanted to ask a question?
No, I've got a couple of things. I wanted to pick up a little bit on the whole, which is great that you've mentioned it, because I know from your professional experience, it's primarily elderly, but this concept of what I've noted as being playground loneliness. You know, I remember being in that place.
Okay.
It's a long while ago now. Yeah. I remember feeling bullied and lonely at playtime, you know, as a child.
Wow.
And it was horrible, you know. And so it never pushed me to a point of doing anything silly or the extremes that we've talked about here. But yeah, and eventually, I suppose you go through. Some people go through it, some people don't. Some people really struggle to connect with other people, and so that's an important thing. I'm glad you mentioned it. And the other thing that a phrase I wrote down as you were talking, about sharing your problems, and there's that old adage, isn't there? The phrase, "A problem shared is a problem halved."
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's, never more true than in having somebody who's suffering from loneliness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If someone was, if you was to befriend somebody that was feeling lonely, it gives them hope.
Yeah.
Especially if you give them the time and listen to them,
Mm.
and that it gives them, that
somebody
sort
cares.
of sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Somebody else cares.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess the elephant in the room is we could also finally draw this conversation to a close by saying that at this current time, as we're going through this coronavirus epidemic, is that the correct word? Pandemic. Thank you. I knew it didn't sound quite right. Pandemic, and just even this evening, at the time of recording this, the Prime Minister in the UK has just said that the restrictions are being tightened on social interaction, and shops are being closed that are not necessarily needed for health and whatever. We're going through unprecedented times, and I think never more than now have we ever needed somebody to talk to. So how do we overcome that? I'm going to ask Christine that final question. What would we do in these days now of going through this whole change in society and our culture? How are we going to overcome the loneliness problem at this very time with people who are isolated and alone?
Well, that's right. If we have to social distance ourselves, that's what we have to do for our health and for their health. But everybody tends to have a phone, whether it's a mobile, whether it's a landline. Mm-hmm. We can actually go back to the old-fashioned way of actually writing to people.
Really? Well, with a pen?
With a pen and paper.
Wow, yeah.
Or obviously there's social media. If it's not, even some of my elderly clients are very good on their iPads, really good on their iPads.
Yeah.
So, and they do talk to family and they do FaceTime them. But also in the church that we belong to, we've got some slips of paper that have been printed out. Yeah. And we just put our name and address, put them through their letterbox if they
neighbours.
If they need any help, if they need any provisions, if they need any medical help or any contact at all. So
that's very good.
We've got these as tools to help.
Yeah, look out for people who need contact these days.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Yeah, any other thoughts on anything, guys, that we've talked about?
I don't think so. Just thank you.
No. It's been a very important topic. I know it's a bit more somber. We're living in somber times for many, but hopefully we can all do our part. Pick up that phone, ring your neighbours or your elderly relatives. I had a phone call from my eldest daughter saying, thank you very much. She rang me, and shout out to Tila and Richard. I know, it's nice hearing. She said, well, we've all been told to ring our elderly relatives, so... Ouch! But no, it's a valuable and important thing that we do. You know, we're looking out for each other all the more, I hope, these days. So,
and there is a road to relief to loneliness.
Yes, road to relief. Yes, thank you.
That's good.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. She stops me being lonely anyway. Right. Ford, back to you.
It's homework time and farewell.
All right. For next week, our homework, Paps, I believe you've picked.
Is it my fault? You're blaming me? Yeah.
Yeah. What have you picked?
Okay.
Well, I shortlisted 4 films, and they're all science fiction films, unfortunately, that we should watch because we're due to watch another film, aren't we, this time around? We read a book last time. What did we do the week before? This episode before?
Music.
We listened to some music. Yeah, so we're going round the houses, if you like, and choosing different ways of doing our homework. And so we're going to choose one of the films which we spoke about in the last episode, and the one before that, and that is the film called Alien. Woo! Our second favourite sci-fi film of all time.
You wooed yourself.
Oh! Am I not allowed to do that?
Oh, no, it's fine, yeah. It's a safe space. You can do what you like.
You guys could have wooed it if you wanted.
Okay, yeah.
I actually was surprised, didn't I? Okay, so we're going to watch Alien before we next gather round together.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Which is a horror, technically, so maybe not for those people.
I'd like to call it a thriller, but yeah, okay.
Well, in these days standards, it's probably a thriller. But back then, it was definitely a horror. So it depends on what you're comparing it to. But
it is 18, so watch out if you like. Yeah.
But if it was released now, it would be a 12A.
I bet it would, actually. You're right there, yeah. Yeah, you're quite true to say that, yeah. Yeah. So we're going to watch that before our next episode. If anybody else wants to try and catch a copy of that. I'm not sure if it's on any streaming services, is it? But
I'm not sure.
It's often to be found in charity shops are closing, aren't they? They won't
Yeah.
Charity shop. You can probably get it online, buy a DVD, and get it sent to your house. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
Thank you,
guys. In life, there are a lot of things you shouldn't do. Like driving without a seatbelt and eating with your mouth open and coughing on people.
Yes.
But there are also many things you should definitely do, like follow your dreams and like and comment and subscribe.
Follow us on Twitter.
And even definitely follow us on Twitter. Even sharing a wonderful podcast with your friends. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
To offset that loneliness.
You know you're not supposed to laugh at your own jokes, don't you?
Oh, I can't help it when you guys are doing it.
Struggled to get through that, didn't you?
There we go. You can find us on Twitter at Theory of Anything, or Anything, sorry, my bad. That's TING at the end of that. You can find us on most podcasting web platforms, including YouTube, and our email address is fearofanything@hotmail.com.
Well done. You pulled it back together at the end.
Yes,
right?
thank you.
So feel free to email us or send us anything with any comments or anything you want us to do or talk about, or anything we didn't mention, or questions or anything.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Whatever you want. Oh, we could listen to some Status Quo next time.
It is music next, actually. The one we did before was game.
Oh, was
it
Minecraft?
Minecraft, remember?
That's it.
Yeah, books, game.
You're right.
Okay, guys. What a pleasure it was again.
Yeah.
Like brighten ourselves a little bit and lift the burden of
Life.
events.
Oh, well, it's stuck.
Hey.
Yeah, very good. Excellent.
So all that remains is to say goodbye. Yeah. And final words, look after each other, take care of yourselves, reduce the risk, do what we're being told. Please, please, please do what we're being told to do. The scientists, even if you don't agree with the politicians, they're getting their information from the science. So please do what you're being asked to do. And and look out for each other.
Wash your dang hands.
Wash.
Don't cough on people.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, guys. All I'll say is goodbye from me.
You're not going to do your catchphrase?
Yeah.
I'm going to let somebody else do it.
Oh,
until we meet again round the microphone.